Hello everyone, welcome to the second live session of the massive open online course on science, technology and society. We have received a few questions, but still you can pose questions now quickly, and since this session is limited to only 1 hour, uh, what you can do, you can raise these questions. If you slightly recall what we have done in the course, we have discussed the thematic preliminaries of the relationship between science and technology on the one hand and society on the other, and then you will find that we have discussed methods of science, we have discussed um, ethos of science, inequalities in science, uh, social, economic, political, and cultural construal of technological systems. Uh, uh, then we have discussed the relationship between science and democracy. I mean, in the form of democratizing scientific knowledge through building scientific institutions in 19th century India. Uh, in that context, we have discussed social responsibility in science and so on. If you look at this, then we have discussed science policies in India, we have discussed copyright and so on, and the whole world of intellectual property rights regime in science. Okay, a question that is being raised, that what may be the possible books or reference, textbooks or reference materials for this course. See, if you look at textbooks, you can look at Nico Steher's works on society and knowledge. Textbooks, if you want to read, Nico Steher is one. You can look at George Basala's works, The Spread of Western Science. You can look at the works of Thomas Kuhn. Textbooks, but in reference also you can look at Kuhn's works, Popper's works, Feyerabend's works. If you look at textbooks, you can look at Donald McKenzie and U.D. Walkman's The Social Shaping of Technology. You can look at a paper which I wrote long back in 2006, democratizing scientific knowledge through building scientific institutions in 19th century India, the sociology of science perspective, that appeared in Current Science in 2006. You can look at Professor B.V. Krishna's works, Professor Haribabu's works, Professor Deepak Kumar's works, Roy MacLeod's works, so many. Okay. Exam center related, exam fee related questions may be posed to the NPTEL administration, SWAYAM administration, where they will let you know what are the modalities of conducting, what are the modalities that you must follow while registering or while paying the exam fee and so on. Okay, this is now let us bifurcate textbooks and reference materials very in a proper manner. You look at Donald McKenzie and U.D. Walkman's The Social Shaping of Technology. Please look at George Basala's The Spread of Western Science. Look at the works of V.V. Krishna on scientific temper. I mean, Binay Patnaik's scientific temper, B.B. Krishna's institutionalization and professionalization of science, um, Hari Babu's papers uh, on a large community but a few peers, a study of Indian scientific community, a study of scientific community in India. You can look at Binod Jairat's papers which appeared in Contributions to Indian Sociology as well as Sociological Bulletin. You can look at Merton's works on social theory and social structure, the sociology of science, theoretical and empirical investigations. You can look at John Jimen's works, which appeared in Real Science, uh, and if you, but most importantly, if you look at the originals, that makes more sense. Suppose Mertonian reflections on social theory and social structure, Mertonian reflections on Merton's reflections on inequalities in science, ethos of science. Okay, okay. You can find them in articles that we have earlier discussed, and but and again, if you look at suppose Bloor's works, knowledge and social imagery. Okay, you can look at, but if you go by originals, then please read Thomas Kuhn's The Structure of Scientific Revolutions, Karl Popper's works on, book, The Logic of Scientific Discovery, and also Conjectures and Refutations. Paul Feyerabend's book Against Method, an outline of an anarchistic theory of knowledge. Okay, uh, uh, and that will give you some kind of impetus for serious studies on social studies of science. Uh, uh, if there is some other question, then I'll address. You see, what we have done uh, in this course, that we have tried to interrogate the idea of absolutist, idealist conception of the immanent development of science, and we have tried to uh, foreground, or we have tried to discuss how history, how science has emerged. Yeah, development of atomic bomb was a byproduct of military persuasion by the United States of America. Uh, if you look at the nuclear tests in India, uh, that in fact it was first tested in 1974, and then 1998, and it's going on for some time now. You will find that carrying out nuclear tests is also is also a part of military prowess, international relations. That's why whatever technology that we tend to develop, okay, they have some kind of military, commercial, and military and commercial factors, which have significant implications for our public policy. Okay, and that's how we tend to look at the relationship between science, agriculture, industry, technology, engineering, uh, uh, on the one hand, and you will find, for example, public policy on the other. Okay. If you look at the recent the recent new science, technology, innovation and development, science, technology and innovation policy, which appeared in September 2020, you will find that it has been drafted in a manner which has got significant implications for our public policy, decision making policy and so on. Okay. Then the demarcation between science and non-science, autonomy of science, cognitive authority of science, they are getting challenged. Not today, not simply today, but for a pretty long period of time. Okay. You will find that how a particular technology has been designed in such a manner that it has got it may have economic benefits for a few, it may not have economic benefits for the many. You will also find that it's very difficult to separate technological reasoning from economic reasoning. Technological reasoning and economic reasoning are often inseparable. Okay. But that economic reasoning, which has restricted its use to a very few, okay, and therein lies the significance of ethical questions. That's why from the very beginning we said that philosophy in its pre-19th century incarnation was divided into two parts, namely natural philosophy on the one hand and social and moral philosophy on the other. Natural philosophy is nothing but science in the present sense of the term, and social and moral philosophy is nothing but ethics in the present sense of the term. Okay. When I say natural philosophy, science in the present sense of the term, the term science was coined by William Whewell in the 19th century. Prior to this coinage, science was known as natural philosophy. Okay. And natural philosophers or scientists in the present sense of the term, okay, were engaged in epistemological questions, whereas social and moral philosophers are engaged in ethical questions. Okay. If BT cotton is introduced, okay, then scientists, technologists, engineers, they are more interested in looking at the epistemological questions. On the contrary, social and moral philosophers, they are engaged in, or they are interested in the ethical questions. Okay. Okay. Then when I said epistemological questions, when I say epistemological question, what is epistemology? Epistemology is a body or theory of knowledge. Why is it so? Precisely because of the central philosophical and political questions that epistemology addresses. What are those central philosophical and political questions then? Now, what is knowledge? How is knowledge produced? What counts as knowledge? But the central question that the proponents of epistemology or scientists, technologists, engineers for a long time that they have missed out, that is, who has that access to knowledge that we have produced? Whether the kind of knowledge that we have produced has been democratically distributed or not. Whether there is an even distribution of the technological developments. That's very important. The question of equity, the question of democracy, the question of social inclusion, they became very important for the proponents of social and moral philosophy. Okay? That's why ethics is nothing but a study of nature of conduct. When we tend to integrate epistemology with ethics, we tend to arrive at modern philosophy of science. In other words, when we tend to integrate natural philosophy with moral philosophy, we tend to arrive at uh, modern philosophy of science. And in this context, what we have done uh, mainly in this course, that uh, we have tried to look at philosophy of science through the methods of science, history of science through the building of scientific institutions in the country, sociology of science in terms of institutionalization, norms, values, uh, uh, ethos of science, inequality in science, and so on. Social and political construction of technological systems. Okay, and in this manner, we have tried to look at a combination of philosophy of science, history of science, and sociology of science, which then try to make the central theme science, technology, and society. Okay, is there any question? Yeah, Ansu Rana. Hello. Hello, is there any other question? You can raise the questions, whatever questions that you have in this live session. Obviously, this is not the last live session, of course. I'm not saying that, but the next month we are going to have one more live session. Um, I think in December. Huh? December. In December, we are going to have a live session, right? Okay. Yeah. In December, we are going to have a live session. And I'm sure uh, uh, that this kind of course will give you an overview of how to make arguments. Okay, and a broad overview of the relationship between science, technology, and society, and a detailed description of, of methods of science, one, ethos of science, two, inequalities in science, three, social shaping of technological systems, four, uh, uh, then science and democracy, five, um, then then you will find uh, science and technology policies, six, and then you will find uh, how science, which was considered a public resource earlier, now how it has become a part of intellectual property. Seven. Okay. In these eight modules, you will find, in terms of 30 lectures, you will find that how we have tried to conceptualize, how we have tried to conceive of the relationship between science and technology on the one hand and our economic, culture, and polity on the other. Is there any other question? And the person who has raised a question on practical chemistry, I would like him or her to elaborate it on so that we can reflect on. I mean, because the question is not complete, it's difficult to look at, to frame a answer that new course for practical chemistry. Dr. Rajdeep Utane has posed this question that new course for practical chemistry. Of course, it is not a course on practical chemistry. It is a course on how to understand the interface between science and technology on the one hand, and economy, culture, and polity on the other. Hmm? We'll stop here. If there is any question, please keep them. You can raise those questions with our team. I mean, with my TAs, teaching assistants, and they will obviously get back to me once they receive the questions. Then we'll get back to you. But again, of course, we have one more live session in December, so that we can have more and more questions about the course, about the content that we have, about the doubts, about your reflections on the course, and so on. Thank you. उपाय नहीं है ना।